Croeso i sesiwn ola, tyfu ffydd, dod â gobaith a dangos cariad. A heddiw, da ni'n mynd i edrych ar ddewis a creu posibiliadau newydd.
Welcome to the final session of Growing Faith, Bringing Hope and Demonstrating Love. Today we are going to look at choice and the creation of new possibilities. So, for one last time, let's go to Bishop Gregory.
The Apostle Paul appears to have written 2 letters to the church at Corinth. Now, Corinth was a very cosmopolitan and libertarian city, a bit like Amsterdam would be in our own day, and that sort of reputation for loose living. He wrote 2 letters to them, and in the second letter he spoke about the Christian vision for the future. And he wrote about how in life often there seems to be a veil between us and God. We can sometimes feel very distant. And then he writes this: whenever we turn to the Lord, the veil is removed. Now, the Lord of whom the Bible speaks is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And because for us there is no veil over the face, we all see as in a mirror the glory of the Lord. And we are being transformed into his likeness, from glory to glory, through the power of the Lord, who is the Spirit. I think that's a beautiful phrase. We're being transformed from glory to glory. You see, the Christian life should be a pilgrimage, should be a journey. Christian faith should never be static. God is moving us in our life, and God is moving us ever into a new position of greater holiness, of greater love, of greater faithfulness. And so we want to think about how God is leading us into a position of liberty, into a position of freedom, as we learn about the fullness of life. Christian faith should be an opportunity of limitless proportions to expand our life, to become holier people, deeper people, living life which is ever more full. That is the invitation, and that is the story we must tell.
Y reality yw, da ni gyd yn gwneud diwysiadau. Rhai bach, rhai mawr, rhai da a rhai drwg. Da ni'n mynd i rando rwan ar bobl o Eglwys yr Holl Saint yn Drenewydd.
The reality is that we all make choices, some small, some large, some good and some bad. We're now going to listen to people from All Saints Church in Newtown as they tell us about some of the personal choices they have made and what happened because of them.
Well, I can mention hundreds, but one that sticks out really in my life is the decision at late 50s to change my career totally. I was in retail management for lots and lots of years, and then decided to work for a charity organisation which was for people with learning disabilities. And it transformed my life, to be perfectly honest. The people I worked with were Christians as well, which really surprised me when I got there. They were all Christians, and it was like, well, gosh, God works in very mysterious ways. And it totally changed me from the person I was to, I think, a very much more understanding and caring and wanting to work more with my community and the people that, needed help and support. I prayed a lot about it because it was a massive change. I had to readjust all my family, but it was the right decision. I prayed to God, I discussed it with friends and family, and just went for it. I never ever regretted it. In fact, I learnt so much myself from that experience that it was amazing. It was like something God had obviously sent me there to do.
I've always been religious ever since I was a young lad, and gone to various churches. And when I moved to Newtown, I joined the fire service, joined St John Ambulance, and most weekends I wasn't available. So although I went now and again to church, I didn't go that often. But then my mother passed away 8 years ago, and I started going again then, and I'd not stopped going. And it's just my mother's death that caused me to. Church is very welcoming, people, and they get you involved in the church, if you're prepared to get involved, that is.
In early years, when in my teens, a big decision was I was asked to play the organ, to be an additional organist in Newtown. I was worshipping at a small village church at the time. So for a long time, like many years, I played in both churches. So I was in two different incumbencies, and seeing what happened in the bigger churches in Newtown and the reaching out to the community, it was just inspirational to me. Whereas in the village church, it was small, we were fighting to survive, and it was a real struggle. In town, we weren't struggling because we were working hard to do for others. It's only in later life now, looking back, realising how much it changed things, because otherwise I would have been isolated in a small church, watching it dwindle and die, because ultimately it closed. And my faith would have been really stretched, and not really understanding what faith was about. Faith would have then been just keeping a church open and fighting for those sort of things about a building, whereas now faith had widened into this wonderful thing about helping others. So for me, it was just, yes, looking back, it was a wonderful watershed moment, really.
Some time ago, I searched the possibility of ordination. And I knew I struggled with the written work. I struggled with a lot of the academic side of it. I spent nearly 12 months out of my parish in placements, only to discover that I would have to do a curacy as well after I was ordained. My heart and my soul are very much in my own parish, and I was struggling over this. I spent a lot of time in prayer, an awful lot of time in prayer and thought, and I really think now that it's not what God wanted, because I have a very deep ministry here for over 50 years, and certainly the last 15 years, full time, on more pastoral duties than anything. And I'm so happy, and at my age I just felt this isn't perhaps what God wants. I've got to follow my heart and remain here where I'm very, very happy and have been. I absolutely know now that I'm blessed in the ministry I'm in. Super people I work with. I've worked with numerous clergy over the years. Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Y reality yw, da ni gyd ar ryw adeg wedi gwneud diwylliadau da neu ddrwg sydd wedi siapio ryw agwedd o'n bywydau ni.
The reality is that all of us at some point made good or bad choices that have inevitably shaped some aspect of our lives. We hope that you'll be able to use the following questions to share some of them.
Mae eglwysu yn neud diwylliadau hefyd.
Churches also make choices. Jean, Mary, Miles and Wendy now tell us about some of the choices their church has made and is continuing to make.
What I really love, the decision of our church, is that we've gone out. That's always been one thing I've always fought for. We must go out, we must be seen in the community. When you gather people in, like the young mums with the mother and toddlers group, who need help, they need somebody just to listen to them. People just need somebody to listen to. And the church has made that decision now to go out and to listen to those people that are hurting, because we know are hurt ourselves, and it's lovely to be like that. I think the church has made a brilliant decision to go out into the community and to help the people here where we are on the ground.
I think the looking out that we do, the looking out to community, of centering around our community. We don't worship just for us. We worship God on a Sunday to say thank you for all we have and what the strength we have to do it. But we use it as a time to focus in helping others, helping our church community, because there are others that need help, but reaching out to the community, and I think that's the great strength, that we look out, not look in.
It makes us more acceptable in the community, instead of being, oh, there's the church, and you're frightened to go over the door. Now they know if they come in, they're going to be welcome, they'll have friends there, they'll be able to talk. And I think that's a really big move within our church.
On a normal year, we would, at church festivals and things like that, we'd clear the room, put tables out, and we'd have a meal, wouldn't we? You know, an evening meal, or dinner, or a buffet. The choice is just hope that they carry on as they are now. I mean, the outreach is incredible at the moment. People going to see people. And if anybody hears of anybody who's got a problem, they're there, they're off to see them. You know, there's no problem at all.
We've closed the church in order to modernise it, if you like. We're having a new kitchen, toilet, shower area, hopefully that we could outreach to people perhaps sleeping rough. We have an awful lot of people living alone, so it'd be lovely to outreach to people that would like to come and have soup and fellowship at a lunchtime. We've moved into the school, and we were all very apprehensive on it, obviously, but to walk in on Sunday was terrific to hear all the chatting and the fellowship, and you just feel so relaxed there, and the congregation hasn't dwindled at all, which has been very interesting.
How excited are you about the possibilities that might come out now?
Oh, I'm very excited. I've just waited for this. I mean, I've been along this project for years now. It's lovely that hopefully I've seen it come to fruition, and I'm looking forward to the day when we open it and we could become an active place to embrace the community, not just to be inward on our own, but to actually embrace these young people. You know, we've got young people out there as well, and COVID has affected them very badly.
There is talk, they're putting a shower in this new church, and there's talk that if anybody is on the streets, they could come in and stay.
I think there's so much work to be done in the community, and they could all fit into the different faith, hope and love. We're looking at a homeless project with Green Pastures, have a house where we can have 4 or 5 homeless people, not just having a shelter or a roof over their heads, but to help them to reorientate and get back into mainstream living. So that's about giving hope and love, and because we are church people that will be running it, the faith part, they would understand more why faith motivates us, and hopefully by our example, and if, talking through things with people, that they can see why we are faithful to God and why we want to be Christians.
We had a faith and grace meeting, so we used to meet in the chapel instead of in our church because it was more convenient to get people in. We had very dedicated volunteers who came along, so we did a service for people who could dance and sing and enjoy themselves and praise God in various ways.
The Sunday Lunch Project, there's about 6 of us in the kitchen cooking meals for about 90, another team of church and non-church serving the meal, and then there's a whole team of people who deliver the meals and take them out, and it doesn't just stop with the meal. When they arrive, the people receiving them usually are quite isolated, elderly, or have their difficulties. It's brought the community more into the church, although they might not come to the worship, but they can see what the church is about more. It's not been out in the community doing.
You get to know the families when you deliver the meals and they chat to you. I feel the meals to me have been a real inspiration, because when you go, you're taking Jesus to that door. It's not you. You're taking Christ to them with a meal, and that's a wonderful experience.
Felly rwan, da ni'n mynd I ofyn I chi feddwl am eich eglwys chi. Pa ddewis neu ddewisiadau da chi angen wneud os da chi wir yn mynd I adlewyrchu ffydd, gobaith a chariad?
So, finally, We're going to ask you to think about your own church and to consider what choice or choices do you need to make if you are to truly reflect faith, hope and love. What impact would those choices have on your worship, shared life and community outreach?
Mae wedi bod yn dipyn o daith yn do.
In session 1, we started to share our stories about how we came to faith and the communities of faith in which we worship. In session 2, we considered how our faith can shape our lives and our churches. In session 3, we considered how faith can nurture hope and how hope can inspire, energise and stretch us to make a difference. In session 4, we looked at love and its power to transform. And in this final session, we have looked how faith, hope and love both inspire and compel us to create new possibilities.
Felly dyn ni am adael chi gyda cwestiynau a ddiwedd y cwrs, a dyma nhw. Beth sy'n digwydd nesa i chi ac i'ch eglwys chi? Be mae Duw wedi bod yn deud wrth i chi yn y sesiynau yma? A beth ydych chi'n mynd i wneud amdano fo?
The questions that we leave with you at the end of this course are these. What happens next for you and for your church? What has God been saying to you in these sessions? And what are you going to do about it? Let's end this session in prayer together.